Okay, so for those of you that just walked in, we're getting the worksheet out that we were working on last class. It's right up on the board. We're just going to review how to graph coordinate pairs, and then we're going to move on to our next lesson. Yes? I don't have that paper. Okay, anyone else lose the paper by chance? Everyone else good? Okay. So again, it's just really important that you remember how to graph our coordinate pairs. Okay. So a quick review. Okay, this is called a coordinate pair. So I have 5, comma, -3. The first number is always your x. The second number is always your y. Okay? X is horizontal left to right. Your y is vertical up to down. Okay? So this is your x-axis. This is your y-axis. Okay? So if this is my x point, it says x is 5, and x moves horizontally, that means I'm moving 5 places to the right because that's positive. So this is your origin. Remember, we always start from the origin. So I'm moving 5 places to the right from my origin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Now my y moves up and down. It says -3. The negative tells me I'm moving down, and I'm moving 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. Again, for those of you that are brand new to graphing, the easiest way to do this is you're going to want to move your 2 fingers until they touch. Okay? And then that's where you draw your dot. Okay? Now, on this worksheet, they labeled it for you. They gave you a label, and they told you that this coordinate pair is called A. So when they give you a label, you also have to label it. So I have to label this dot A. Okay? So again, just like I told you last time, it's really important. So you make sure on a test that you got all of your dots. You want to do a check when you do one. So I know I finished A. I completed A. I'm going to move to B. B says 4, -1. Were you here last week, honey? You got to get your worksheet out of your bin. Okay, 4, -1. So again, 4 is positive. 4 is on your x-axis, which is horizontal. So I'm moving 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it says -1, so it means I'm moving down. Move your fingers till they hit, and that's your dot. Okay? And that dot is labeled B. So I'm going to label this one B. Okay? C says 1, 5. Remember, this is your X. This is your Y. So I'm moving to the right one because that's positive. And I'm now moving up 5. So right 1, up 5. So this is my dot. And that one is labeled C. Okay. Last point, until you can make your line, it says D is 2, 3. They're both positive, so I know I'm moving to the right 2, and then I'm going up 3. Okay. Again, this makes a nice line for you, but as we discussed, they're not always going to make those perfect lines. Okay, so this looks like it's a direct relationship, right? So we discussed those relationships. Okay. So you make your line. Okay. And the last step I asked you to do for these graphs is to tell me what type of relationship it was. Okay? What type of relation? So you had three choices. It was either positive, negative, or it had no correlation. So it had a positive correlation, a negative correlation, or no correlation. Okay? So what type of relation is this?
Negative.
Negative. Okay, so let's rewind a little. A positive relationship. Okay, positive relationship is one where as the x increases, so does your y increase. Okay, so that would look something like this. So say I have a dot here and a dot here. Okay, so this is my first dot, this is my second dot. So I see my x is 2 here, and my x is 5 here. So obviously 2 to 5, that's an increase. So saying as my x increases, I'll put it over here. Okay. Okay, so as my x increases, let's see what happens to my y. I have a 2. I have a 5. My y goes from 2 to 5. So as my x increases, my y increases. That's a positive relationship, a positive correlation. Okay, a negative correlation states as one of them increases, the other decreases. You can flip them around. It doesn't matter. It says as long as one increases, the other's decreasing. So as x increases, y decreases. Or it could say as x decreases, y increases. So let's look at 2 points. All right? We're going to circle this one and this one. Okay. So my x is 2 here, and my x is 4 here. So my x is increasing. So let's see what happens to my y as my x is increasing. My y was 3, but my y turned into a -1. So as my x increased, my y decreased. So it's a negative relationship. It's a negative correlation. Okay? Are we remembering this from last week? Good. The only other relationship we discussed was the no correlation. So remember, if you have a bunch of dots all over your graph, okay, there's no relationship, there's no correlation. Okay, this is no correlation. All right. So with that said, so this is just a review of what we've already discussed. Does anyone need me to graph another one for them? Are we feeling confident about our graphs? Does anyone need more time to complete their graphs? Does everyone have their graphs done? All right, let me walk around. All right, Justin, let me see the other one. Okay, good. Good. Okay, so you're going to want to redo this one. They should all have. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. All right, so it looks like we're good. All right, so now the lesson for today, friends. All right, we're moving on to slope. How many of you guys have heard of slope before? No one? Even in science class? Okay. All right, so the slope measures the steepness of a line. Okay. I'm going to show you multiple ways how to find the slope. Today we're just going to look at one particular way, and then I'll show you how to measure the slope on an actual graph. Okay, but today we're going to use a formula to measure it to find the slope. Okay, it's measured as the ratio of the amount of the horizontal change to the amount of the vertical change. Okay, of the horizontal change to the vertical change. Okay, your x to your y. All right, this is known as rise over run. Okay, rise over run. Okay, think rise up and down, over run. Okay, when you're on a sidewalk, okay, you're a person on a sidewalk and you're running. Okay, rise over run. There's a formula for this. Okay, is there? Did you say bathroom?
Yes, bathroom.
Okay, why don't you wait until we go over this, and then you can. I just don't want you to miss this. Okay. Okay. So slope of a straight line, again, is the rise over run, which let me show you what that means. Okay, so if we're looking at a graph, okay, again, your rise is your y-axis, okay, and your run is your x-axis. So if I went over your data point there is 5. Your data point here is 2. Okay, the actual formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is your formula for slope. Okay, this is your first data point. So this would be x1, y1. This is your second data point, so this would be x2, y2. Okay. So, what do I look at? We know how to write our coordinate pairs. Okay. So, I would look at this data point, and we know x is first and y is second. So the x for this point is 1. Okay, the y for the point is 2. For this point, the x is 3. The y is 5. Okay, now slope formula is y2 minus y1. So this is my y2. So that's where I say 5 minus. This is my y2 minus y1. 5 minus 2 over x2 is 3 minus 1. Okay. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. Your slope is 3 over 2. What does that mean? Okay, let's think about that. What does that literally mean? Again, remember this is your y, and this is your x. This is your rise. This is your run. So that means between each point on a graph, you're going to go up 3 spaces and over 2 between each point. So if you had to draw another data point on here, the way you would figure out how to do that from the slope, you would need to go up 3, because that's what that's telling you. So 5 plus 3 is 8. So I know I'm going up 3. And then it's telling me I'm going over 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5, right? So my next data point would be right there. Okay, So my next data point would be 5, 8. That is what the slope tells you. We're going to do a lot of practice with this, you guys. But that is slope. Slope is represented with the variable m. Slope is always represented with the variable m. Okay? Any questions right now? Are you sure? 100% positive. All right. Okay. So when we were doing graphs, remember we did scatter plots, or I said it was a direct relation. What I was meaning by a direct relation, which is important for you guys to know, is if it's a straight line, the rate of change is constant. Okay? Rate of change is your slope. Okay? So if it's saying your rate of change is constant, your slope is constant, okay, then they're telling you that it will always go up 2 and over 1. Always up 2 and over 1. So whenever you're given some type of slope, right, you know you are creating a straight line because the slope is telling you your rate of change is constant. Okay? So you might always, again, be going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Your rate of change is constant. Okay? This is the positive and negative slopes, but I already discussed that with you. We'll do the undefined slopes later. That's diving too deep into it for now. Okay, so we'll do one sample and then you can go to the bathroom. So what I'm teaching today, just for today, is how to calculate the slope if you're given 2 coordinate pairs. Okay? So, on your test, it would say determine the slope of a line that passes through the ordered pairs -3, 8, and 2, -11. So that's how you would see a question. Again, determine the slope of a line that passes through the ordered pairs -3, 8, and 2, -11. So the best way to set it up, again, I always highly recommend you label everything. Okay? So this is, again, these are your X's, these are your Y's. This is the first data point I gave you. This is your second data point. So this is your X1, this is your X2, this is your Y1, this is your Y2. Slope, remember M means slope. Okay? Slope equals Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. Now it's easy. You just simply plug it in. So here's my Y2. Y2 minus Y1 all over X2 minus X1. You need to be really careful if you have a negative because that's going to be a double. Because you have to have that minus. That's part of the formula. So don't forget that. Okay? Remember, we went over these rules. Okay, heads up, heads up, head up, in the back, head up. Okay, if you have a double negative, what is the rule? What does that turn into? What's the rule, you guys? Double negative turns into?
Positive.
Positive. So that's how I got 5. So this is really saying plus. Okay, so 2 plus 3 gives me 5. Okay, -11 minus 8 gives me -19. Again, what is this telling me? Okay, this is my Y. This is my X. So So if I had a graph and pretend this was my point and this is my line, this is telling me I'm going to go down 19 and I'm going to go over a positive 5. And that would be, so it couldn't be that way. Haha. And that would tell you that that line's wrong. So it would tell me I'm going down 19 over positive 5, and my next point would be right there. Okay. So this one has a negative correlation. All right. You can get back there. We won't do this part yet today. We are just going to practice. That will be something for tomorrow. We are going to practice calculating the slope just with given 2 points. So let's try that first. All right. So that means you're going to have to utilize the formula, and I'll go back to the formula. Buddy, wake up today. You gotta wake up. Come on. All right, I'll put the formula back up there for you guys to reference. Okay. You might want to write the formula down on this worksheet for yourself. Okay. So that's your slope formula. Remember, the variable m always represents slope. Okay, let me look at the first one. So we have the worksheet, and we're calculating the slope that goes through, so a line goes through these points, okay? And you're going to calculate the slope of the line that goes through these points by using the slope formula, okay? So what I just did, so I would suggest perhaps labeling them, like, you know, this is your x1, this is your x2, okay? You know, this is your y1, this is your y2, okay? And then all from there, you have your formula. You're just simply plugging them into the formula to calculate your slope, okay? So remember, it's always rise over run, okay? Rise over run. Okay, so I'm going to take my y2 first. 9 minus a negative 20. Okay. Then I go to my x is 9 minus a negative 5. Remember, we already discussed this rule. If you have a double negative, it turns positive. So that's really saying 9 plus 20 over 9 plus 5. So that's really saying 29 over 14. Okay? So again, trying to give you a visual of what that's representing. If you had a graph, okay, and say your starting point was right there, That is telling you, remember, this is your rise over your run. Okay? That is telling you from this point, you would go all the way up 29, and you would go over 14, and that tells you where your next point is on the graph. And then for you to draw a line, all you need is 2 points. You cannot draw a line with 1 point, however. You have to have at least 2 points, but you only need 2 points. Okay? So once I have 2 points, I can draw the line. Okay? And again, that's because it's a constant relationship there. Okay? It's a consistent relationship. All right, I want you guys to try number 2 all by yourself. You can do this. You guys are tired today. What is up with that? So that's number 2. That's what you guys are trying right now. So remember, the first step you're going to want to do is label it to make it easier for yourself. Okay, label it, make it easier for yourself. Eduardo, I don't see you doing anything. Come on, dude. Come on. You didn't even put down 1. Copy 1 off the board. Come on, chop chop. Okay. Who wants to tell me the top? So here's my division bar. Remember, that means divide. So who wants to tell me what's my Y2? I'm just going to go around the room. Justin, my Y2. Come on. What's the Y2? Here's the stuff. Here's your 2 points. Here's your formula. Which one's my Y2? Okay. So this is my second point. I agree. So which one would be my Y2? 20. Good job. So I start with 20 minus, okay, which one's my Y1? Monica? Perfect. Someone's awake here. Good job, Monica. All right, X2 on the bottom. Eduardo, X2. Which number is my X2? Here's your 2 points. Which one's my X2? 18. Good job. But your name's not Eduardo. Now, Eduardo, which one is my X1? What do you mean you don't know? Well, first off, you got a 25% chance because there's only 4 numbers here. So, 20 or 18. Okay, so 18 is correct. Look, so X1, remember your first numbers are always your X's. Your first point would be your number 1, okay? So now I have 18, okay? Remember, double negative means you add. So this would say 20 plus 5 over 18 minus 18, 0. So it's 25 divided by 0. Why don't you do that in your calculator? You think it's 25? Who else thinks it's 25? Someone do it in their calculator and tell me what the answer is. Literally type in 25 divided by 0. Monica, what'd you get?
Error.
We have error. We have 0. Anyone else dare to type it into a calculator? Eduardo?
0. It's 0.
You did 25 divided by 0?
Yeah.
Eduardo, 25 divided by 0. In your calculator. Right there. Your cell phone. Right there. Do 25 divided by 0. Since you're sleeping on me. Divided by 0. 0. 0. Can you divide any number by 0, you guys?
No.
Okay. So this is when I said I wasn't going to go into detail, but in my notes there was something called undefined. This would be an undefined. You can't draw that straight line. Okay, you wouldn't have a slope. Okay, so that's where it's undefined. Okay, and again, I can dive into that a little later. I just didn't want to go into something that you have that's a little bit more steps in thought process. But when it's saying undefined or the error, that means it's undefined. There's not a slope. We have like 5 more minutes. What would a line look like if it's undefined? What do you guys think? Okay, so we can take a tally. So we have a horizontal choice, or we have a vertical choice. Think about slope. The formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so y2, so just pretend this is 2, okay? So 2 minus 2, okay? And we can say this is 1, 3, okay? Over x2, 3 minus 1, 0, 3 minus 1 is 2. Do 0 divided by 2. In a calculator, somebody. 0. So this one has a 0 slope, which means this line is what?
Vertical.
Undefined. There is no, it's undefined. This is your undefined. Okay? That's your undefined. Okay? All right, we have 5 minutes. I want you guys to try number 3. Number 3.
Is that number 1?
We just did number 2. We did number 1. So we're trying number 3. I can erase all of this stuff and get you to number 3. So it's -5, first data point, -5, 2. That's your first coordinate pair. -2, sorry. And then you have 8, 13. All right. I'm glad to see I got 2 of you awake now. All right, so I'm gonna this time take a roll on what we think the slope is. So I want you guys to do the work, and we'll see what you guys think the slope is. gonna go around the room. Justin, what'd you get for the slope? What? Just tell me what you got.
I only got one step.
Well, did you plug them in?
No, because I didn't listen to anything.
What do you mean you didn't listen to? Okay.
I literally spaced out and just stared at them.
Okay, so I need you to listen. Eduardo, what'd you get? Come on, tell me whatever you got.
I didn't do it.
You didn't do it. Adrian.
Do you want the answer?
Yeah, tell me what you got.
15 or 13.
Okay. How many people got 15 over 13? 1, 2. No one else? All right, I'll add myself. 3 of us got 15 over 13. All right, how'd we get that? All right, so Justin, pay attention. Ready? This is your formula. Okay, the second number is your y's. Okay, the first number are your x's. The first data point is number 1. The second data point is number 2. Okay, does that make sense so far? Okay, so it says y2 minus y1. Well, this is my 2, and we said the second one is your y, so I'm doing 13 minus my y1. We said this was our 1s, we said this was our y's, so negative 2. Divided by, we said our x's is our first numbers. We said this is our second point, so x2 is 8 minus our first data point.
Why is your 13 negative?
A what?
Negative.
What about negative?
Your 13 is
13 is not negative, that says 13.
to the right of it.
Because that's the formula, it's minus.
Oh.
That's part of the formula. Okay? We'll continue with this tomorrow, you guys. They were tired today. Yeah. From having.
Yeah, send me back to school on like the worst day.
It's the 5 days off. You know, you had the weekend, and then you had Monday, and then Tuesday.
That messing up my sleep schedule so bad because on Monday I kept waking up at 4. For the whole week I kept waking up at 4.
Yeah. It's rough coming back after having all that time, right? Then you're like, no, forget about school. I'm not doing this.
I just regenerated and sleep, so now I can actually.
All right, Justin.